I think backpacking is a really symbolic thing, and a lot of the lessons that are learned out here can be applied to regular life. Well, I'm sure you can't see anything right now. Probably just looks like a white dot. But this is actually the beginning of my day one. Got to the trailhead about 10:30. It's been raining all day, and I'm starting this section in the middle of the night. I think day two will be a little more interesting. So I woke up this morning to a salamander crawling on my head. I don't know where he came from. Kind of a weird way to start this section. This is going to be the last section on the eastern side of the UP. The Mackinac Bridge is only 45 miles away. Been a pretty gloomy and kind of uninteresting day so far. But one thing that has been interesting is getting to see the shift into autumn. It's interesting because some parts of the forest are still totally green and don't show any signs of changing. And then you get to a part like this where there's a lot of yellow already. It just shows how much variety there is in the forest. And when you're not out here walking through it, it can seem like the shift into fall colors is kind of like a snap and everything changes at the same time. But that's not really how it works. Each little area of the forest is kind of its own ecosystem, and there are a bunch of different factors that'll trigger when the leaves will change colors. Some of those factors change in different parts faster than others. And so while you might get fall colors happening within a week, each day, every section is a little bit different. So even though that I'm trying to film as much of this stuff as I can, just the reality of it is that 95% of it won't get filmed. But that's where the real adventure is. I think that's probably one of the most important things that backpacking has taught me, is to just be okay with the time you spend waiting for the good parts. Because there's a lot of good parts in backpacking, but they don't last very long and they take a lot of work to get to. So it's okay to just be bored for a little bit and just think, let your mind wander. Well, I woke up this morning and it was real nice and sunny, blue sky. So I was thinking I could get my shoes dried out from yesterday. But they're still pretty soaked and so are my legs now. And actually everything's a little bit more wet than it was yesterday, thanks to all this wet overgrowth. Of course, I really appreciate having these boardwalks, but they can get kind of treacherous if it's wet out. You slide pretty good on them if you're not careful. And back into the soaking wet overgrowth. Well, after that swampy, overgrown, wet brush, the day has been kind of uneventful, which isn't a bad thing. It's been a lot of just nice forest walking, but nothing really too scenic. So it's getting towards the end of the day now, and I'm about to come up on Brevert Lake and the Brevert Lake Dam. That's where I'll be camping tonight. That might be the most exciting part of the day. Well, the Brevert Lake Dam isn't as impressive as I hoped it would be. But Brevert Lake is pretty cool. That would be a perfect spot, but it's real windy. Still considering it though. Well, I'm glad I kept looking. Maybe just 100 yards from that last site where it was super open and windy, I find this one. Still just as good of a view, and there is no wind here. This might be one of the best spots so far. Super pumped to find this. Well, I've spent a lot of nights in some pretty terrible camp spots. It really makes me appreciate when I find a good one. And this spot is a pretty good example. You got a good flat area to set up your tent. Actually, lots of good flat area over here too. A pre-made fire ring, that's just a bonus right there. Got a really good view and some pretty good shelter from the wind. So I'm pretty satisfied with this spot. I think the highlight today is that I'm going to see Lake Michigan, the second greatest of the Great Lakes. Lake Superior will always be the greatest. But that's kind of a milestone, knowing I've gone from the top to the bottom of the UP. I might even catch a glimpse of the Mackinac Bridge today. It's about 20 miles away, so I'm considering finishing today, but I still have tomorrow if I need it. We'll see what kind of pace I set for today. Look, I caught a snake. This is already the second snake I've seen on the trail in like 20 minutes. Pretty good size too. Alright, I'm gonna let him go. Well, I've been noticing a lot of puds on this section lately. I wasn't really expecting to find that on the NCT. Usually you find those more on the mountainous terrain. If you don't know what a PUD is, it stands for pointless ups and downs, PUD. But basically it's just a lot of extra work for nothing. There's no view at the top. There's not really any reason to go up. And then once you get up there, then you have to go back down. Going up, going back down. And going up again, going down. Going up, and back down. Oh, and then we're going back up again. Been reading some signs of the trailhead, and they say that the water levels used to be way higher. About 12,000 years ago, Lake Michigan and Superior were up to where I am now. And I'm still a couple miles inland. And just like the sand dunes that got built up at Pictured Rocks, I'm assuming the same thing happened here. So since the lake has receded, and sand stopped getting blown in this way, and trees started establishing themselves, and now it's just dirt. Well, ever since I hiked the Pacific Northwest Trail last summer, I spent a lot of time comparing the NCT to the PNT. It's amazing how different they are. And one thing that I really appreciate about the NCT is how much more established it is. There's a lot less road walking. So when I do get a section like this, like right now, I've probably got 5 miles of just straight dirt road ahead of me. When I do get a section like this, it reminds me a lot of the PNT, because there's a lot of that. But then it's just kind of a different mindset that you put yourself in. Just put in some music and try and pound those miles out, because you know at the end there's going to be a good part. And in this case, the Mackinac Bridge is at the end of this road. Well, I made the mistake of getting to the outskirts of St. Ignace today. I wasn't really planning on getting here until tomorrow, but you can't really get to the outskirts of town and then decide to camp. So I'm going to push it a little bit farther. Got about 3 miles to get to my car, and it'll probably be dark by then. Well, here's my first view of Lake Michigan and the bridge. Looks like I made it here just in time before darkness. Well, I wasn't even planning on getting here tonight, but I got a little bit too close to town. It didn't make sense to camp there. So I pushed it another 3-4 miles on the road, and my feet are killing me, but I'm here, Mackinac Bridge. Now, if I had been planning ahead when I started these sections, I would have made the Mackinac Bridge my ending point for the whole UP. But I still have probably about 150 miles left to go on the western side. Depends on the weather. If this goes into the winter, that could break it up into 4 or 5 more sections. But we'll see how it goes. Next section will be in the Porkies, and that should be like peak fall color by then.